I always thought anniversaries were sacred, like tiny temples built from shared memories and promises. That's why finding the receipt for a $2,800 Cartier bracelet in my husband's jacket pocket didn't immediately strike me as odd. Our 10th anniversary was approaching after all. But then I saw the gift note scrawled at the bottom. Happy birthday, Eleanor. All my love, Kay. I'm Zuriel, and this is how I discovered my husband was living a double life. The receipt trembled in my hands as I stood in our walk-in closet, surrounded by the life we'd built together. 10 years of marriage, countless shared dreams, and one devastating piece of paper that was about to shatter it all. Honey, have you seen my blue tie? Cade called from downstairs. The one with the diagonal stripes? I quickly tucked the receipt into my pocket. Check the laundry room, I managed to reply, proud that my voice didn't crack. My phone buzzed. A text from Alexandra. Still on for coffee? You're late. I grabbed my purse and car keys, needing to escape before I completely fell apart. Going to meet Alex? I shouted, already halfway down the stairs. Wait, weren't we supposed to discuss something today? Kate appeared in the foyer, looking puzzled. I stopped at the door, my hand on the handle. You tell me. He ran his fingers through his hair, his classic tell when he's lying. I'm sure it'll come to me. Have fun with Alex. 20 minutes later, I sat across from Alexandra at our favorite cafe, the receipt spread between us like a murder weapon. That son of a bitch, Alex whispered, her coffee untouched. Eleanor, isn't that the new artist at Terrence's gallery? I nodded, remembering the young woman with flowing dark hair who'd started showing her work there 3 months ago. 28 years old. Apparently she's celebrating her birthday tonight. On your anniversary? Alex's face darkened. Please tell me you're joking. I wish I was. I stirred my cold coffee. He hasn't even mentioned our anniversary. Not once. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a text from Cade. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. Alex reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Zur, I'm so sorry. I need to see it for myself, I said, standing up. Eleanor's having her birthday dinner at La Maison tonight. I saw the reservation details in his email. I'm coming with you, Alex declared, grabbing her purse. We arrived at La Maison just after 8. Through the restaurant's front window, I saw them immediately, Cade and Eleanor at a corner table, intimately close. He was wearing the blue tie he'd been looking for earlier, and on Eleanor's wrist gleamed a familiar-looking bracelet. Maybe we should... Alex started, but I was already pushing through the door. I walked straight to their table, my heart pounding but my steps steady. Eleanor saw me first, her eyes widening in recognition. Cade turned, and the color drained from his face. Happy anniversary, darling, I said, my voice carrying across the now silent restaurant. I see you're celebrating it in style. Eleanor looked between us, confusion clouding her features. Anniversary? Oh, didn't Cade tell you? I smiled, though it felt more like baring my teeth. Today marks 10 years of our marriage, but please don't let me interrupt your birthday dinner. Marriage? Eleanor's voice cracked. She turned to Cade, who sat frozen in his chair. You're married? I placed my hand on their table, wedding ring glinting under the romantic lighting. I'm Zuriel, Cade's wife, though I'm starting to think that title might need updating soon. Eleanor stood abruptly, grabbing her purse. The Cartier bracelet caught the light as she moved. I can't believe this. She rushed past me toward the exit. Zuriel, I can explain, Cade started, finally finding his voice. Save it for your lawyer, I replied, turning to leave. But I paused and looked back. By the way, next time you buy expensive jewelry with our joint account, you might want to delete the email confirmations too. As Alex and I walked out, I heard the murmurs and whispers from other diners. My hands were shaking, but my mind was surprisingly clear. In the car, Alex turned to me. Are you okay? I stared straight ahead, watching Eleanor's car speed away into the night. No, I answered honestly, but I will be. An idea was already forming in my mind, one that would make this betrayal into something beautiful and terrible all at once. After all, art had always been my best way of processing pain. The morning after the restaurant confrontation, I sat in my studio, staring at a blank canvas while my phone buzzed incessantly with Cade's messages. I'd spent the night at Alex's place, leaving him to stew in his own mess. 37 missed calls, Alex announced, scrolling through my phone. And wow, these messages are something else. Baby, please come home. We can work this out. Yeah, right. I dipped my brush in crimson paint, making the first angry stroke across the canvas. He came home at 3 a.m. last night. Security cameras don't lie. Speaking of lies, Alex held up an envelope. This came for you at the house. It's an invitation to Eleanor's upcoming gallery showing at Terrence's. I almost laughed at the irony. When? Next month? The theme is modern love. Alex's voice dripped with sarcasm. How fitting. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Alex peeked through the window and groaned. It's Cade. Want me to tell him to get lost? No, I said, wiping paint from my hands. I want to hear what kind of story he's cooked up. Cade stood on the doorstep, looking like he hadn't slept. Good. Zuriel, please. Save the dramatics for someone who still believes them. I cut him off, blocking the doorway. What do you want? 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking for. I crossed my arms. You have 3. Eleanor means nothing to me, he started. It was a mistake. A mistake? I interrupted. A mistake is burning dinner. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. Having a months-long affair and spending our money on your girlfriend, that's a choice. I'll end it. I'll do whatever you want. Just come home. Behind me, Alex snorted. Funny how you're only sorry now that you got caught. Cade ignored her. Zur, please. Think about our life together. 10 years, which you couldn't even remember to celebrate, I finished. Get off my property, Cade. As I closed the door, my phone pinged with a new email. It was from Terrence. Heard about what happened? Drop by the gallery when you can. We need to talk. An hour later, I walked into Terrence's gallery, the walls lined with Eleanor's artwork. Her style was good, I had to admit. Bold colors and clean lines that spoke of confidence and youth. There's my favorite artist, Terrence called from his office. Come in, come in. I settled into the leather chair across from his desk, noting the concern in his eyes. I assume you've heard? Small art world. He nodded. Eleanor resigned this morning. Apparently she's moving to Chicago. Convenient, I muttered. But that's not why I called you here. Terrence leaned forward. I have an opening in next month's showcase. Eleanor's spot, actually. It's yours if you want it. I stared at him. The Modern Love exhibition? Ironic, isn't it? He smiled. But I've seen your work evolve over the years, Zuriel. You're at your best when you're processing strong emotions. And right now, I'd say you're sitting on a goldmine of inspiration. My mind raced with possibilities. When would you need the pieces? 3 weeks. He handed me a contract. Think you can handle it? I thought about the blank canvas in my studio, waiting to tell my story. Oh, I can handle it. Back at the studio, Paige had joined Alex, both of them examining my first angry brushstrokes. Now that's what I call therapy, Paige said, gesturing at the canvas. But what's the plan here, Zur? Because that look in your eyes? I know it well. I pulled out my phone and showed them Eleanor's gallery invitation. The plan is to tell a story. My story. Their story. And I'm going to tell it in front of everyone they know. You're going to expose them through your art? Alex's eyes widened. That's brilliant. It's also dangerous, Paige warned. Are you sure you want to go down this road? I picked up my brush again, dipping it in deep blue, the color of Cade's favorite tie. They say revenge is best served cold, but I think it's best served on canvas, don't you? As I started working, my phone buzzed with another text from Cade. I miss you. Please come home. I showed it to Alex, who promptly deleted it. Focus on your art, she said. Let him wonder what you're up to. I smiled, adding another stroke to the canvas. Oh, he'll find out soon enough. They all will. The painting was beginning to take shape. A woman's silhouette, wrapped in shadows and secrets. It was just the beginning, but already I could feel the power in it. My revenge wouldn't be loud or messy. It would be beautiful, public, and absolutely devastating. The next week passed in a blur of paint and purpose. I worked like a woman possessed, barely sleeping, turning my pain into something tangible. The centerpiece was coming together, a large canvas that would be impossible to ignore. You need to eat something, Alex said, placing a sandwich beside my easel. And maybe shower. You're starting to look like one of your paintings. I stepped back from the canvas, wiping sweat from my forehead. What do you think? The painting showed a woman, Eleanor, draped in jewelry and fine clothes, but each item was tagged with a price. In the background, barely visible unless you looked closely, was my own reflection in a mirror, writing checks. It's brutal, Alex whispered. Beautiful, but brutal. The gallery door chimed, and Terrence walked in with someone I hadn't seen in years, my old mentor, Rogelio. Rogelio? I put down my brush. What are you doing here? I heard about the exhibition, he said, embracing me, and about Cade. I had to see for myself. Rogelio was more than just my mentor. He was also Cade's business partner. The implications of his presence weren't lost on me. How bad is it? I asked. 3 clients have already pulled out, Rogelio sighed. Cade's reputation, well, let's just say the business community is smaller than he thought. I'm not trying to destroy his business, I said, though part of me felt a twinge of satisfaction. No? Rogelio raised an eyebrow. Then what are you trying to do? I gestured to the painting. I'm telling the truth. If that destroys anything, maybe it needed destroying. Terrence cleared his throat. Speaking of truth, there's something you should know. Eleanor's been trying to get her spot back in the exhibition. What? Alex and I said simultaneously. She claims she was misled and wants to tell her side of the story. Terrence continued. I told her the spot was filled. She's got nerve, Alex muttered. My phone buzzed. Another text from Cade. Can we talk? Please? I made a reservation at your favorite restaurant. Still trying to buy his way out of trouble. I showed the message to Alex. You're not going, are you? She asked. Actually, I think I will. I grabbed my jacket. I need to understand something. 2 hours later, I sat across from Cade at the same restaurant where we'd had our first date. He looked terrible, unshaven, dark circles under his eyes. Thank you for coming, he said softly. I'm here because I want to know why, I said, cutting straight to the point. Was it worth it? Cade stared into his untouched wine. I don't know. I got caught up in the attention, the excitement. Eleanor was new and different. And young, I added. That's not, he stumbled over his words. I made a mistake. You made several, I corrected him, including using our joint account to fund your affair. I'll pay it all back, he said quickly. Whatever you want, just don't do this exhibition. I sat back surprised. How do you know about that? Eleanor told me. She's worried about what you might paint. He leaned forward. We can handle this privately. No need to make it public. Like you handled our anniversary privately? I stood up. You know what your problem is, Cade? You think everything can be negotiated, bought, or buried. But some things need to be seen in the light. Zoriel, please. The exhibition opens in 2 weeks, I said, gathering my things. Make sure you dress nice for it. Back at the studio, I worked through the night, adding final touches to the centerpiece. Each brush stroke felt like a step toward freedom. You okay? Paige asked, bringing me coffee at dawn. You know what's strange? I said, not looking away from the canvas. I actually feel sorry for him. He has no idea what's coming. Having second thoughts? I shook my head. No, but I'm starting to understand something my mother always said. The truth doesn't need defending. It just needs witnesses. Well, Paige smiled. In 2 weeks, it's going to have plenty of those. I stepped back to look at my work, the culmination of my anger, pain, and determination. The painting wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my story, my dignity, and my future. By the way, Paige added, checking her phone, Terrence says the RSVPs are flooding in. Apparently, word got out that this exhibition is going to be memorable. I smiled, picking up my brush again. Oh, it will be. Trust me, it will be. Borrowed love, I said, stepping back from the newly finished centerpiece. That's what I'm calling it. Alex circled the painting, her heels clicking on the studio floor. It's perfect, the way you've captured Eleanor's face. It's like she's both proud and hollow at the same time. The painting showed Eleanor draped in all of Cade's gifts. The Cartier bracelet, designer clothes, even the earrings I'd found receipts for. But I'd painted each item with price tags attached, floating around her like autumn leaves. In the background, barely visible, was a woman's silhouette writing checks, me funding their fairy tale. 1 week until the exhibition, Terrence announced, walking into the studio. And you won't believe who just RSVP'd. Eleanor, I guessed. Better. Your mother-in-law. I nearly dropped my brush. Margaret? But she's been in Europe for months. Apparently, she's cutting her trip short specifically for this. Terrence handed me his phone, showing Margaret's email. She says she's deeply concerned about family matters. She doesn't know the half of it, Alex muttered. My phone buzzed. Cade again. He'd been trying a new approach lately, sending daily messages about our history together. Today's read, remember our first apartment? How we ate ramen for months to afford art supplies for you? He's trying to make you nostalgic, Paige said, reading over my shoulder. Classic manipulation. It would work better if he hadn't spent our anniversary buying jewelry for his girlfriend, I replied, deleting the message. The gallery door chimed again. This time it was Rogelio, looking troubled. We need to talk, he said, pulling me aside. Cade's losing it. He showed up at the office drunk yesterday, begging me to convince you to cancel the exhibition. And I told him he should be more worried about the clients we're losing. Rogelio ran a hand through his gray hair. 3 more pulled out this morning. Word travels fast in business circles. I never meant to affect your business, I said softly. Don't apologize for his mistakes. Rogelio squeezed my shoulder. Besides, I'm thinking of buying him out. The company needs a fresh start. Later that afternoon, I was touching up details when the studio door opened again. My heart stopped. It was Eleanor. You can't be here, Alex started, moving toward her, but I held up my hand. It's okay, I said. Let her speak. Eleanor looked different, smaller somehow, less confident. I needed to see you, to explain. Explain what? How you dated a married man? Or how you spent my money? I didn't know, she whispered, about any of it. The marriage, the money. He told me he was divorced. And you never thought to verify that? Never wondered why he could only see you at certain times? Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. I was stupid, and I'm sorry. But this exhibition, it will ruin us both. No, I corrected her. It will tell the truth. There's a difference. Please, she stepped closer. I'll do anything. I'm trying to start over in Chicago. With whose money? I asked sharply. Because I checked our accounts. There was a large withdrawal last week. Eleanor's face flushed. He said it was his... Get out, I said quietly. And Eleanor, don't miss the exhibition. You're the guest of honor, after all. After she left, Alex whistled low. Well, that was intense. You okay? Paige asked, touching my arm. I turned back to my painting, adding one final detail, a small price tag on Eleanor's heart. I'm better than okay. I'm ready. That evening, as I was locking up the studio, my phone rang. It was Margaret, my mother-in-law. Zuriel, darling. Her crisp voice came through. What's this I hear about an exhibition? It's about modern love, I said carefully. You should come see it. Don't play games with me, she snapped. Cade tells me you're trying to humiliate him publicly. No, Margaret. I'm just telling the truth publicly. He handled the humiliation part all by himself. There was a long pause. You know, she said finally, I never thought you were good enough for him. But perhaps I had that backward. The line went dead, leaving me standing there in the darkening studio. The centerpiece loomed before me, Eleanor's painted eyes seeming to follow me. 1 week, I whispered to the canvas. 1 week until everyone sees who you really are. Both of you. My phone buzzed one last time. Another text from Cade. Whatever you're planning, please reconsider, for both our sakes. I smiled, typing back my first response in weeks. Don't forget to dress up for the exhibition. You'll want to look your best when your borrowed love comes due. 3 days before the exhibition, I stood in Terrence's gallery, directing the installation of my pieces. Each painting told part of the story, leading viewers through my journey of discovery and betrayal, building up to the centerpiece that remained carefully covered. The RSVPs are insane, Terrence said, reviewing his tablet. We've got art critics from 3 major publications, half the city's social circle, and my husband's entire client list, I finished. I saw the names. Speaking of your husband, Alex called from the entrance. You've got mail. She handed me a thick envelope, legal documents from Cade's lawyer. Inside was a proposed settlement agreement, offering me a substantial sum to cancel the exhibition. He's trying to buy your silence, Paige said, reading over my shoulder. Classic rich guy move. I ripped the papers in half. Some things aren't for sale. The gallery door chimed and Margaret swept in, looking exactly as I remembered. Perfectly coiffed silver hair, designer outfit, judgmental expression. Well, she said, surveying the gallery, this is certainly dramatic. Margaret, I nodded. You're early. I wanted to see it before the crowds. She walked slowly past each painting. These are quite revealing. That's the point. She stopped at a smaller piece, one showing Cade's hands counting out bills. You know, when Cade was young, he used to take things that weren't his. Small things at first, then larger ones. We thought he'd outgrown it. Apparently not, I said dryly. I enabled him, she continued, surprising me. Made excuses, paid people off. Perhaps if I hadn't... She turned to face me. Do what you must, Zuriel, but know that this will change everything. It already has. After Margaret left, Alex helped me adjust the lighting on the main wall. That was unexpected. Everything about this is unexpected, I replied. I never thought I'd be... My phone rang. Rogelio. Turn on the news, he said without preamble. Channel 7. We huddled around Terrence's office TV, watching as a reporter stood outside my house. Sources say the prominent businessman's wife is planning an explosive art exhibition that will expose details of his alleged infidelity. Well, Paige said, so much for keeping it quiet until opening night. My phone exploded with notifications, messages from friends, family, even old college classmates. Then came Cade's text. Is this what you want? To destroy everything we built? You already did that, I muttered, turning off my phone. The next 2 days passed in a blur of final preparations. The gallery buzzed with activity, caterers planning, lighting technicians adjusting, security teams reviewing protocols. We've had 3 different reporters try to sneak in today, Terrence told me. This is bigger than we anticipated. Good, I said, adjusting the cover over Borrowed Love one last time. The more witnesses, the better. The night before the exhibition, I couldn't sleep. I drove to the gallery at midnight, needing to see everything one last time. But I wasn't alone. Eleanor was standing outside, staring through the windows. It's closed, I called out, making her jump. I needed to know what to expect, she said, turning to face me. How bad is it? That depends on your definition of bad. I unlocked the door. Want to see? She hesitated, then followed me inside. I turned on the lights, revealing the collection in all its brutal honesty. Eleanor moved slowly through the space, her face growing paler with each piece. The receipts, she whispered, stopping at one painting. You found them all. Every single one, I confirmed. Amazing what people leave in their email trash folders. She stopped in front of the covered centerpiece. Is that? You'll see it tomorrow, with everyone else. He says he loves me, she said suddenly. That once this is over, we can start fresh. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. He told me the same thing last week, and his lawyer offered me money to cancel this show yesterday. Eleanor's shoulders slumped. I'm such a fool. No, I said, surprising myself with my gentleness. You're just the latest in his collection of borrowed things. The difference is, I'm done paying the bills. After she left, I sat alone in the gallery, surrounded by my truth rendered in oil and canvas. My phone lit up with one final text from Cade. I have an important meeting tomorrow. I won't be able to attend. Coward, I texted back. Don't worry, I'll make sure everyone sees exactly who you are, whether you're there or not. Tomorrow, I thought, looking at the covered centerpiece, tomorrow everything changes. Opening night arrived with an electricity in the air that made my skin tingle. By 7 o'clock, the gallery was packed wall to wall with guests, their excited whispers echoing off the high ceilings. The art critics are here, Terrence murmured, passing me a glass of champagne, and 3 local news crews outside. Any sign of Cade? Alex asked, scanning the crowd. Not yet, I replied, smoothing down my black dress. But the night's young. The guests moved through the exhibition in waves, their reactions growing more intense with each piece. I heard gasps at the painting of Cade's hands counting money, saw phones raised to photograph the receipt-strewn backgrounds, noticed people pointing at the price tags floating through each scene. Zuriel! Margaret's voice cut through the crowd. She approached with a distinguished-looking man. "This is James from the Modern Art Review. He's very interested in your perspective." "Mrs. Pierce," James nodded, "your technique is remarkable, but I'm more intrigued by your choice to make the private so public. What drove that decision?" Before I could answer, a commotion near the entrance drew everyone's attention. Eleanor had arrived, wearing a simple black dress and looking like she might bolt at any moment. "Well," Margaret said dryly, "this should be interesting." Eleanor made her way through the gallery, flinching slightly at each painting. People whispered and pointed, some recognizing her from the pieces. She stopped in front of a smaller work showing her wearing the Cartier bracelet, price tag prominently displayed. "Zuriel!" she called out, her voice shaking. "Can we talk?" I excused myself and walked over. "I'm surprised you came." "I had to," she said, "but there's something you need to know. Cade." The gallery door burst open again, and this time it was Rogelio rushing in. "He's coming," he announced breathlessly, "and he's drunk." "What?" I turned to face the entrance just as Cade stumbled in, his tie askew and face flushed. "Is this what you wanted?" he shouted, gesturing wildly at the artwork. "To humiliate me?" The gallery fell silent. Phones came out, recording the scene. "Sir," one of the security guards stepped forward. "Please lower your voice." "This is between me and my wife," Cade slurred, pushing past him. "Zuriel, you need to take these down. Now." "Or what?" I asked calmly. "You'll throw more money at the problem?" "You don't understand what you're doing," he continued, moving closer. "The business, our reputation." "Your reputation?" Eleanor stepped forward. "What about mine? What about hers?" Cade spun to face her, nearly losing his balance. You're just as guilty, taking the gifts, the money." "Money that wasn't yours to give," I interrupted. "But we're not done yet, darling. The main event is still to come." I nodded to Terrence, who dimmed the lights except for the spotlight on the covered centerpiece. The crowd gathered around, phones raised, waiting. "Don't," Cade warned, but his voice had lost its power. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, gripping the cover, "I present Borrowed Love." I pulled the cloth away, revealing the massive canvas in all its glory. The crowd gasped collectively. Eleanor's painted form dominated the scene, draped in every gift Cade had given her, each item meticulously price-tagged. But now, in the proper lighting, the background became clear. A series of bank statements, credit card bills, and receipts forming a web that connected everything back to my signature. "My God," Margaret whispered. Eleanor stepped closer to the painting, her hand covering her mouth. "The bracelet, it was your money." "Everything was," I said quietly. "Every gift, every dinner, every hotel room, all funded by my art sales, which Cade managed for me." "You're going to regret this," Cade growled, but Rogelio grabbed his arm. "The only thing she'll regret is not doing it sooner," Rogelio said firmly. "Now, let's get you out of here before you make things worse." As security escorted Cade out, cameras flashing, I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was Margaret. "Well," she said, looking at the painting, "I suppose I owe you an apology. Several, actually." The critics were scribbling frantically in their notebooks. Guests were sharing videos of Cade's outburst. And in the middle of it all, Eleanor stood staring at her painted self. "What happens now?" she asked without turning around. I watched as Cade was helped into a taxi outside, his dignified facade finally shattered. Now we stop borrowing love and start owning our truth. The exhibition buzzed with excitement, but for me, the real show was over. I'd told my story, exposed the lies, and reclaimed my narrative. The rest was just aftermath. The morning after the exhibition, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. 3 major newspapers wanted interviews, galleries across the country were requesting the collection for touring, and social media was ablaze with videos of Cade's drunken appearance. "You've gone viral," Alex announced, scrolling through her phone. The hashtag Borrowed Love is trending. I was sitting in Terrence's office, watching as he fielded call after call. "The Modern Art Review wants to do a cover story," he said, covering his phone's mouthpiece. "And every piece is sold, even the sketches." "Who bought the centerpiece?" I asked. Terrence grinned. "Margaret. She said something about keeping it in the family as a reminder." The door burst open and Rogelio rushed in, looking disheveled. "We have a situation. Cade's trying to liquidate the company assets." Can he do that? Alex asked. Not without my signature. Rogelio pulled out his phone, showing us an email. But he's already transferred money from our business accounts to his personal one. That's illegal, I said. Extremely. The board's calling an emergency meeting in an hour. Rogelio straightened his tie. Want to come? As his wife, you're technically a stakeholder. The corporate office was chaos when we arrived. Board members huddled in groups, whispering frantically. Cade sat alone at the end of the conference table, looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. The motion is simple, Rogelio addressed the board. Given recent events and unauthorized financial activities, we move to remove Cade from his position and freeze all company accounts pending investigation. You can't do this. Cade stood up, swaying slightly. This is my company. Actually, a board member spoke up, you only own 30%, and after reviewing these transfer records, this is your fault, Cade pointed at me. You and your damn paintings. No, I said calmly. This is what accountability looks like. The vote was unanimous. As security escorted Cade out, his keycard and company phone confiscated, my own phone buzzed with a text from Eleanor. Can we meet, please? An hour later, I found her at a small cafe downtown. She looked different, more grounded somehow. I'm leaving for Chicago tonight, she said without preamble. But first, I wanted you to have this. She slid the Cartier bracelet across the table. Keep it, I said. Consider it payment for the truth. I sold everything else he gave me, she continued. The money's been transferred back to your account. It won't fix anything, but it's a start. The paintings, she hesitated. They were beautiful. Terrible, but beautiful. You made me see myself the way others saw me, the way I should have seen myself. My phone buzzed again, a news alert. The headline read, Prominent businessman under investigation for financial misconduct. Karma works fast these days, Eleanor commented, reading over my shoulder. Back at the gallery, Terrence was supervising the packing of sold artwork. The New York Times article just dropped, he said, handing me his tablet. They're calling it a masterpiece of personal justice through art. Zuriel! Margaret's voice rang through the gallery. She strode in, looking unusually flustered. Have you seen the news? Cade tried to leave the country. They stopped him at the airport. What? Apparently, he had a private plane waiting. Rogelio called the authorities just in time. She shook her head. All these years, I thought I knew my son. Now I realize I only knew what I wanted to see. Speaking of seeing things, Terrence interrupted, we have another situation. The waiting list for your next exhibition is getting ridiculous. Every major gallery in the country wants you. They don't want me, I corrected him. They want the scandal. No, Margaret said firmly. They want the truth. You showed us all how powerful that can be. My phone lit up with another text from Cade's lawyer. Given recent developments, Mr. Pierce is willing to agree to all divorce terms without contest. Well, Alex said, reading the message, looks like borrowed love comes with a return policy after all. I looked around the gallery at the empty walls where my pain had hung just yesterday. But instead of feeling empty, I felt light, free. So, Terrence asked, what's your next collection going to be about? I thought about the blank canvases waiting in my studio, about the story that was ending and the one that was just beginning. Liberation, I said. It's time to paint what freedom looks like. The gallery doors opened, letting in the late afternoon sun. Outside, I could hear the buzz of the city, feel the pulse of possibility. The borrowed love was over. Now it was time to create something real. The divorce papers lay signed on my lawyer's desk, their crisp edges marking the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Outside the office window, autumn leaves danced in the breeze. Congratulations, my lawyer smiled. You're officially a free woman. How fitting, Alex said, squeezing my hand. Just in time for your new exhibition. The gallery was transformed for tonight's opening. Where borrowed love had been dark and accusatory, liberation exploded with color and light. Each canvas told a story of breaking free, of finding strength in vulnerability. They're already lining up outside. Terrence called from the entrance. And guess who's here? Eleanor walked in, looking polished in a Chicago gallery owner's blazer. I hope it's okay that I came. My flight back isn't until tomorrow. Of course, I said. How's the new job? Amazing. Turns out burning bridges can light the way forward. She handed me a newspaper. Have you seen this? The headline read, "Former business mogul pleads guilty to financial misconduct." Below was a photo of Cade entering the courthouse. 5 years, Rogelio said, joining us. That's what the prosecutor's recommending, plus full restitution. The company's doing better than ever, he continued. Turns out clients appreciate honesty more than charm. The gallery doors opened and people flooded in. Art critics, collectors, and curious observers moved through the space, their reactions different from last time. Less scandal-driven shock, more genuine appreciation. This one, a critic pointed to the centerpiece. Tell me about it. The painting showed a woman, clearly me, surrounded by broken chains transformed into butterflies. Each link bore a date. My wedding day, the day I found the receipt, the night of borrowed love's reveal. It's called Unbound, I explained. Sometimes we need to break apart to become whole. Profound, Margaret's voice came from behind me. She looked softer somehow, more human. And true. Margaret, I started, but she held up her hand. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she said, about enabling, about truth, about the difference between loving someone and loving who you want them to be. She touched my arm. Thank you for teaching me that difference. Paige rushed over, excitement in her eyes. The Museum of Modern Art is on the phone. They want to feature both collections, Borrowed Love and Liberation, as a special exhibition on emotional transformation through art. Take it, Margaret urged. Show everyone that pain can become power. As the evening progressed, I found myself in front of Unbound, studying my own journey. A young woman approached, tears in her eyes. Your first exhibition helped me leave my cheating husband, she said softly. This one's helping me find myself again. That's what art should do, I replied. Mirror truth back to us until we're brave enough to face it. The crowd thinned as night fell. Alex, Paige, Terrence, Rogelio, Margaret, and Eleanor gathered around me, opening champagne. To freedom, Alex proposed. To truth, Eleanor added. To art, Terrence smiled. To all of it, I said, raising my glass. And to all of you who helped me turn betrayal into beauty. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from Cade's prison email account. I finally understand what I lost. Not just you, but myself. I showed it to Alex, who took my phone and deleted the message. Some chapters need to stay closed. Speaking of chapters, Terrence interjected, the gallery in Paris called again. They're offering you a residency. 3 months, all expenses paid, to create whatever you want. I looked around at my support system, at the walls covered in my journey, at the empty canvas of my future stretching out before me. What do you think? I asked them. I think, Margaret said, that it's time for you to paint something just for yourself. Eleanor nodded. No revenge, no pain, just pure creation. Paris in spring, Paige grinned. We'll all come visit. I walked to the gallery windows, looking out at the city lights. Behind me, my family of choice chatted and laughed, their voices warm with possibility. Before me lay an unwritten future, blank as a fresh canvas. Yes, I said, turning back to them. Yes to Paris, yes to everything. We raised our glasses again, and I felt it. That moment when you know, with absolute certainty, that you're exactly where you're meant to be. Not because of someone else's choices, but because of your own. The borrowed love was gone, but in its place stood something far more valuable. A life that was completely, unquestionably mine. Questionably mine. Questionably mine. Questionably mine. Questionably mine.